James went to college in Dallas, Texas, and holds an associate's degree in information technology and a bachelor's degree in business administration. He currently works as an IT manager for an international company headquartered here in Nashville. He and his wife Tracy are active in their local church, where James serves on the board of trustees and as an elder. They enjoy spending time with their girls, riding bicycles, and traveling to the Smoky Mountains. James was first elected District 2 City Commissioner in November 2010. He was then appointed Vice Mayor in April 2011 and has been reappointed to this position 4 times, making James the city's longest-serving Vice Mayor. In November 2020, James was elected as the 14th Mayor of the City of Mount Juliet. In addition, James serves on the Wilson County Mount Juliet Development Board and the Greater Nashville Region Council Transportation Policy Board. James champions customer service, public safety, planning, and government transparency. Please welcome Mayor James Maness.
Right in there. Tracy, thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's always an honor and a pleasure to get to speak here, and I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. We get to do these once a year, and they're always a special time to celebrate the things that our city's accomplished, the things that you've partnered with the city to accomplish. But, before we do that, I'd like to take just a moment, if we could, and recognize again Mr. Bullock and Miss Nancy Brett for their accomplishments in this. If you would, just join with me in another round of applause for them. I tell you, the contributions that you see from individuals in this community say a lot for the community that we have, say a lot about the investment in what we have in this. And there's another group that I want to recognize real quickly, if we could. We have, and I'd ask you to stand up. We have our Vice Mayor here. I caught him wiping his mouth there, but right, perfect time. We have our Vice Mayor, Mr. Bill Trevette. We also, beside him, have our District 4 Commissioner, Commissioner Jennifer Mullally. Stand up and be recognized. We also over here have our District 3 Commissioner, Mr. Scott Hefner. If you would stand up, sir. They serve every day, and I don't believe I've missed anyone on there. I see our mayor back there, County Mayor, Mayor Hutto. Stand up and be recognized. These are individuals that work hard, and I hope I'm not missing anybody out here, any elected officials in the audience. We appreciate so much the time and investment that you make in this community. And, we as elected officials here, we're only as good, and we can only produce as much or accomplish as much as the staff around us and the folks that work to make this city what it is. I know our city manager's right over here, Mr. Kenny Martin. Kenny, would you stand up, please? And we also have our deputy city manager here, Ms. Sheila Luckett. I know Travis Taylor was here somewhere running around. He's our director of IT. He was running around as well. He was helping set this up. Listen, we also have Jennifer Hamblin sitting right over here. Stand up, Jennifer, if you don't mind. She's got a lot on her plate with the urban growth boundary, the work that's going on here, the future land use plan that's coming up, that follow that undoubtedly, that's going to work. It's a lot of effort to coordinate and get all the people on the same page. Well, get all the people on the same page as best as you can sometimes. But a lot goes on in this city that makes it, a lot of things behind the scenes. Do we have Mark Kirk in here too? I don't know if Mark's here, but Mark's another individual who works hard for the city. Also, Lynn Gore, another one of our department heads. And I know everybody in here, he doesn't need an introduction, but Mr. Marty Potts, if he's out here as well. I tell you, Marty works with the City Beautiful. And if you go through Mount Juliet, and we've had recently back in December, got to meet with a new business that had opened up in here, and they really said, going through the approval process, it didn't feel as, we didn't feel the warm vibes sometimes going through the approval process to open up in Mount Juliet. But they said the standards that you held us to and the product that we have now here in this city, we have no questions about what it is. And he says, just something about Mount Juliet. When you get off the interstate, it looks better. There's no trash. That trash gets cleaned up. It's picked up every day. And and Mr. Potts, Marty, with City Beautiful, you see them out there every day working hard to keep this city looking presentable, taking care of all the things all the calls that we make to Kenny Martin at 1 a.m. about something. That's the individuals that are responding to it. There's one other person that I want to mention. We have our city judge back there. Carolyn, stand up. I know she doesn't need an introduction, but she served this city for several years now as a judge. And, you know, she's at a point now where she's going to take a little different path here. But she served us so well in this city. And I got to thank you for the hours, the effort that you put into this to make our city, our police department, to work with them, the partnership that you've had to make it what it is. You know, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and if that's news to anybody in here, you're probably in trouble. But yesterday was Valentine's Day, and it was the day, I got to thinking, you know, if we keep doing these at this time in February, one day this meeting is going to land on Valentine's Day at some point in the future. So, you know, one of the things about Valentine's Day, it's a celebration of love. And, you know, if you're involved with this city, if you're communicating, if you're committed in this city, a lot of it is a lot about love for the city, love for the community, love for your neighbors. I had a lady recently come up to me, and she was like, I'm going to come down to City Hall, meet with you in your office, and talk about a few things. And I'm like, I don't have an office at City Hall. I have a full-time day job, which was in the introduction there. And she's like, I can't believe you're moonlighting. But, you know, that's some of the things is people don't understand our form of government here inside the city. All the elected officials that you see stand up here, they all have full-time jobs, full-time commitments, and they serve this city. And a lot of it is, you know, following Valentine's Day, about the love for this city. And I appreciate each and every one of you being here today. One thing I think I sometimes struggle to do is to put in words exactly, you know, how we feel about, or how I feel about this community, the value that you bring to it. My wife and I, just last month, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. And sometimes with her, I say, honey, you know, I love you. And, you know, it's just kind of one of those things, you know, sometimes it feels like after 25 years, it's just what you say in passing. And sometimes I have to stop and say, no, I really love you. I really mean that. You don't know what you mean to me. You know, one time I told her, I said, I only ask one or two things. You love me and you outlive me, because I don't want to live without you going forward. So that's kind of the way sometimes I feel with giving these speeches. I told the people in the back, you were the smartest ones. You got close to the door so you can get out of here if this goes the wrong way. So I'm going to do my best today to explain, you know, the passion and love for this city as we go forward, the accomplishments that we've seen as a community. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and declare it right now. The state of our city, it's strong. We're in a good position, and I'm going to say that right here off the intro slide, because this city is built on a firm foundation, a 50-year foundation that's been put in place for us. The things that we do, the things as a board that we built on, that we work on, you know, that's 50 years of history that have gone before us. That's numerous people that have invested in this community going forward. That's hours of staff time that's put into us. We've got a staff of 250 people that make this city do what it does and make the success that we have. You know, one of the things we've got is one of the projects that we're particularly proud of is our new interchange there, the investment that we put into it. You know, we're going to cover a lot today, so I'm going to go fast on some of these slides. I promised Mark we'd be out here by 2, so well, we'll see. But, you know, this is a project that we put a lot of investment in. This project here was $7.9 million investment by the city. From the city's own funds, that was $3.4 million that was invested in this. This opened up in July, primarily with the reasoning behind it, reducing congestion in the area, and of course public safety as well. I know I didn't mention our Public Works Director, Mr. Barlow. I know where he's at today. He's at the GNRC, which is talked about there. He's representing our city. You know, we're a city in a good position when we have our Public Works Director chairing the Transportation Committee right now for the city. So that says a lot about our investments. So he's there representing the city. But one other thing I wanted to say about this widening is a lot of people don't realize this. This opened up in July 2022, but a lot of people don't understand that long before you saw dirt moving on this, long before you saw anything being talked about on this project started back in 2014. It was 8 years to get from the point to when we decided to move forward on this project to when you saw it open. So sometimes when people ask about transportation projects, what takes the time to get from point A to point B, keep in mind this bridge was widened while it was in use, and this bridge here also represents not just one piece. It isn't a finished solution. It is a piece of many pieces on there. You'll see the Providence Parkway extension that was completed. That moved Adams Lane for us to make way for an intersection our interchange that we're going to talk more about. In that project, no tax dollars being used is put in place by the developer. You'll see from Public Works they have 12 road improvement projects in the world. That's a $351 million investment in this community. You'll see $7 million worth of traffic signal improvements, $5 million in bike and pedestrian projects. Along with the sewer projects that they have going on as well, they also run the utilities, stormwater investments. They have over 30 projects in the pipeline. Our Public Works Department stays busy for this thing. We have other things such as, of course, the Stoner Creek sewer intersection that they're working so diligently on. We've got the South Green Hill Roundabout and Town Center Trail extension. Sometimes it just gets talked about the roundabout, but I think the piece that gets forgotten sometimes is the trail extension. The Lebanon Road slip ramp project there at Golden Bear Gateway coming forward. That's a city project that's being done totally by the city to improve congestion in that area there at Lebanon Road. We're seeing, we saw our governor in his State of the City address. We saw him on election night in his acceptance speech that he was talking about the investments that he wants to make in infrastructure. You saw from the State of the City that the state taking a TDOT budget that has been $1.2 billion and increasing that budget with $3 billion of investments on it. That positions us well as a city to get the funding we need for projects like Lebanon Road, get those moving. The projects that we're partnering with TDOT with for Golden Bear. The items on there, we got the trailhead that's coming forward. This is off the existing trail that just opened, that you just saw open. There will be a trailhead extension that's going to connect to Park Glen. This extension here, if you live in Park Glen, this extension here will allow you to walk to Charlie Daniels Park, access the trails and the greenways from there. We also, Bundy Night, this is a planned project that's been presented to us. We've had the engineering on it. Monday night, we reviewed this project. At the next meeting, we'll be looking to accept this path as a go-forward plan. This plan was been engineered for us. This is Pleasant Grove. What you see up in this area here is the Dodge dealership that we currently have taken all the way down to Central Pike. This aligns us for the new interchanges coming forward. This takes out a lot of the dangerous curves out of that area, improves the project. You also see Mundy Park. We got the new detention pond. This, just looking at this, you see this project here and you're thinking, why is the mayor talking about this? This is probably one of the largest investments this city has made in terms of stormwater. We're starting a new department that will be starting up soon. Actually, it's a utility stormwater department to address some of the flooding that we have in the city, some of the problem areas, to fix drainages, and it also allows us to be proactive on this. So this is a major step forward. This is a new utility that we've set up. It's one of those things that, you know, we get requirements from the federal government to do these things sometimes, and we have to step forward and make those a reality. So with our expenditures, moving on to our finance in here, you know, I don't think Dana was here either, Miss Dana Heyer, but, you know, she does a wonderful job. I got to brag on them for just a second. They had their audit, and they were what they call unqualified opinion, which is the highest you can score on an audit. There were no audit findings on this, and this is following up with all the actions that we saw from the FEMA, from the tornadoes, all those monies that moved through us, federal funds that we've had moving through. Still, no findings at all on the audit. We got $36.3 million worth of expenditures here represented in this. You'll see, and what you'll notice from this chart is that the city's commitment to public safety. We have almost 1/3 of our expenditures are going to public safety and emergency services. Another third of that you'll see going to roads, sidewalks, and capital improvements. It's my belief our city has got its priorities straight on what we're working on, which is improving our infrastructure and our public safety. You'll also see that debt makes up less than 5% here, but this is expenditures which we as a city spend far less than we take in. So our total in revenues on this is our debt service is serviced by less than 4% of our revenues coming in. So that says a lot about that 50 years of foundation that this city's built on. For our revenues resources, you'll see 53% of that is taxes. When we say taxes, we're talking primarily about the activities that occur at the cash registers, sales taxes. So when we say shop Mount Juliet first, this is what we mean, because less than 10% of our funding comes in through property taxes here. That's uncommon in most of the cities in the state. Most cities in the state have a much larger percentage of their budget covered by property taxes. Here, primarily, that's why the message keeps going out, shop Mount Juliet first, because so much of that is driven by our sales tax ratio. 16% of this revenue coming here, it's cut off at the bottom, but 16% of that is from grants. Over the last 10 years, Public Works reports that we've received over $42 million in grants as a city. Property tax collections, as I just mentioned, this represents less than 10% of our revenue coming into a city. Our rate initially started out when the property tax was put in place at 20 cents, and we reduced it to 16.6, and now it's down to 11 cents. And you can see from this graph, there's not been much in terms of a drop-off after that cut, because that coincided with the reappraisal of the properties. As property values went up, we cut the rate to match that. And one thing that we have to do, even though it doesn't represent a large percentage of the revenues for us, one thing I have to do with schools in mind is always consider what our property tax generates. Because talking to schools, about 50% of the property tax that the county collects goes into our school systems. So that's something we, as trying to be responsible and partners with the schools, always have to consider our valuation per acre. If you take my neighborhood, for example, an acre of land represents about a $6,000 investment annually to the county. Whereas if you look at a project like Vintage Station, the same acre of land may generate $36,000 per acre. If you look at it that way, our single-family residential sending $3,000 per acre to the school systems. Projects like Vintage Station, mixed-use projects like that, you're generating up to $18,000 per acre back into the school systems. This is one of the reasons why I push so hard for the project that's going out at Central Pike there, for the multi-use on that. I firmly believe we'll be seeing evaluations per acre in value to the county and property taxes generating upwards of $50,000 or $25,000 per acre back to our school systems. And this is vacant land right now. Talk about the turnaround on the valuations with these. Our sales tax revenue, $18.2 million, which is up 13% over the last year. February of last year was our first month to generate $2 million in sales. You say, what's special about February? Well, we have the meeting here. But the other thing is what February represents is the revenues that were collected in December. So it's a trailing a month or so, and it arrives to us. So we always see our bumps there in the February, and we keep going up year after year. So we're hoping to maintain 13%. We know 13% forever is probably not realistic, but we keep wanting to invest in our city, make sure that we're doing the things that we need to be to bring that in place. Other thing here, I know Chief Hambricks, I got a call from the police department. They weren't able to attend here today, but Tell you, they do such a wonderful job on this. Crimes against persons, they're down 10%. I know what you see on social media, but the numbers, they're down against the crimes against people. Property crimes, down 20%. And we've noticed this trend downward coinciding with bringing Guardian Shield online as well. So they picked up over 140 stolen cars since this project's been online since 2020. And another thing about our police department, and I may be one of the very few mayors that can stand up in front of a crowd and say this, we're fully staffed. You know, there is an assault or an attack on law enforcement across this country. I don't mean a physical attack, but there is attack to demean or take down that profession on that. But here in Mount Juliet, we are fully staffed. And it's not because great mayors or great boards, it's because of the community here and the support that they receive. People want to come work in this community. You see us for our crime rate, we're at 50 per 1,000, I think is the correct way to say that, is our crime rate here. Of similar sized cities, that keeps us at the 5th lowest in the Middle Tennessee area. This is something I'm very proud of, and this is something I'm committed to keep going down and to keep this city what it is. I mentioned earlier 145 stolen cars recovered, 103 wanted persons taken off the street. You know, one thing to consider is before this program, are we to believe that they just didn't come to Mount Juliet, or they just showed up after the program here? That's something you need to ask yourself when you see these numbers and you see the reports coming out. License plates recovered, stolen trailers, 4 missing adults, 4 missing children recovered by this. And what are we picking up? We're picking up that almost 2/3 of the folks, suspects that we've generated from Guardian Shield are coming from the Nashville area. Here's an interesting stat. Less than 5% reside here in Mount Juliet. So, you know, it really is appropriately named Guardian Shield, with less than 5% of what's being picked up by this program living here in Mount Juliet, and the rest of this, 95% of it, coming outside the city limits. Something I'm very particularly proud of is our calls for service are down 4% over last year. Total crashes, this is huge, down 9%. Arrests are up 6%. A lot of that gives credit to Guardian Shield. Arrests aren't necessarily a bad thing, but when we see our crime going down and arrests going up, we know something good is happening, something is getting done correctly. Future expansions, efforts to reduce crashes, evaluate the growth plan, adding 4 to 6 officers per year. Operation Light Shine, which is targeting child exploitation. It's a program that the city is looking to partnership with. We're hiring a mental health specialist through a grant, and also break ground on a new headquarters that's 44,000 square feet. And this is hoping to break ground this spring. This represents a long-term investment into our city. Also generates for us a hardened dispatch area, something that we needed with the recent events here in this city, is a place that we can house a building for the future here for our police department. They invest in us, and it's time that we're going to invest back into our police department. For reference, this is Charlie Daniels Parkway. This is the existing police station here. This is the area out in front. Here's something I'm particularly proud of. When I said I was going to run for mayor, I said my goal is going to be that we have an ISO class of 4 by the time I leave office. And I said last time, I don't think I'll reach the 4. And so this makes sense. Lower is better. And now we've been able to reduce that from a 5 to a 3. I am so grateful of the efforts of our police department, the Board of Commissioners, the investment, the time that they put in to be able to produce this. This is insurance benefits, cost savings. It's been a long journey with years of investment in this. We see our incidents for EMS around 2,700, north of 2,700. Fire represents 1,300 of that, and fire represents 1,300 of that, but the majority of the calls at 2,700, of course, EMS, and I got the totals wrong, but the total is north of 4,100 calls on this. Of those calls, about 34% or so of those are overlapping. You know, our response to dispatch time is holding at 1:42. Anybody else in here, can they get dressed and out the door in 1:42 when the phone rings? No takers on that one. But we're able to respond, you know, being in a route to arrival in 6 minutes and 24 seconds. And, you know, it's a long journey to get to that point. And again, I applaud them for their efforts. So, 215 North Green Hill Road here. Target of opening this thing before April. I was talking with Chief Luffman, and I said, I hate the fact that you may not be with us when we get this open. And just in case you don't know, Chief has announced his retirement. Chief Luffman, stand up if you would. But here, yes, he deserves it. Here's the thing. I said to him, I just wish we could have got this open before your retirement. And his reply to me was, he said, Mayor, he says, it's not about building a fire station or a building. It's about investing in the department and getting the right people in the right place. And that's one thing I can say about the chief. He's fought for this community. He's been with our fire department since its inception. He's been with it when the good times and the bad times, fought through it the whole time. And he's never lost focus on what's important, getting the right people in the right place. And Chief Luffman, thank you for your service. We have, I guess we call our future interim chief, Chief Joey Edwards, there. Stand up for us, please. I think we're going to be well positioned to see what's going forward with this. But one of the commitments that we put in place here is when the third station's open, we will have a third ambulance in that. We're going to keep our commitment. Coming soon, we will have, you'll see the Mount Juliet EMS with a $5.5 million operating budget, advanced life support. This is set also to go live mid-spring. 3 units have been purchased, used units. Thank you, Supply Chain Troubles, on that. We do have 3 new ones on order. They won't arrive until 2024. But we will have a state-of-the-art EMS service out there. I think this is really going to be a huge benefit for this community. I know a lot of research, a lot of time has been put into this. We have reached out to other communities around us that have done similar things. And at the end, I asked the mayor of one of these towns, I said, how was this received? And he said, it's rough the first few years. You have some bumps and bruises. I said, where are you? He says, year 3. I said, what happens if you told the people that you were going to pull this back and go back to what you had? He said, they'd run me out of here. So, folks, I believe by the 3rd year, you're going to be very impressed by the service it's going. And it says a lot about the efforts of these 2 gentlemen over here and the work that they've done. Our Parks and Recreations, we'll jump to that. Look, it's 50th anniversary celebration. Parks stepped up. They were kind of the face of the city on this thing. Our Golden Christmas Parade, the tree lighting, tons of other events. You know, that Christmas parade, we had over 100 floats that entered into this thing. It says a lot about our community here. One of the things that you see is the investment that's been done also in Mundy Park. The pickleball courts, new tennis courts, 53 new parking spaces over there. This is, wow, just a vision that put this forward. I know Commissioner Mullally very much involved with that. We also seen the opening of the new Cedar Creek Greenway, at least phase 1 of this. This is a huge thing for our city. Somebody joked with me and said, Mayor, it took y'all 50 years to cross the creek, but we got it done. This is a $2.6 million investment. 500,000 of that come from the city, the other from grants on this. It's a mile long. If you haven't tried it out, try this thing out. Hamilton Denson. I would recognize Rocky Lee, but I don't see him in there. I don't know if we got any staff here from the Parks Department. They worked so hard on this project here. Hamilton Denson's coming along nicely. You'll see the new fields coming up. Rocky always makes me say, they're building bathrooms, so that's high on the list. Those are coming as well on this. Going to be a great investment for a community. And I can't talk about parks without talking about this. This is our hotel motel tax revenues in the city. The funding we take in through the hotel motel tax here in the community goes back into those capital projects. So when somebody comes to our city and stays here, they're investing directly back into our parks, greenways, those type of projects. You see in 2020, it was kind of hit and miss. There was a lot going on that year. By 2021, we got closer to what I'd call the seasonal patterns, and it's really just taken off ever since on this. And we've got more pads at Providence Central, so I'm convinced we're gonna have a lot of opportunities in the future going forward. And I'm gonna land this plane with this. Earlier last month, we got to make a trip up there and talk to Governor Lee. And if you look at the population of Mount Juliet, it makes up about 0.5% of the total population of the state. So I didn't want to go in here to Governor Lee and present, just another city, one of the 344 municipalities in the state, and talk about, just Mount Juliet, what we want to accomplish. We went in there and made a presentation to the governor, and it talked primarily about what this interchange here going forward, Central Pike, what it means to us, what the investments are if we don't do this. But it wasn't from a city standpoint. It was more so from a regional standpoint, what this means to the state. We're the only one of the 345 cities in here to say we can open up a new interchange that's pad ready, less than 10 miles from the airport. And I think we really, of course, Mark Pody, able to sponsor and set up the meeting for us. He said Mount Juliet, and this is his comments from the Coleman Walker show, I believe it was last week. He said, Mount Juliet has done everything correctly. They've gotten the right letters, they've gotten skin in the game, they've worked with TDOT, they've had a good project that's been long planned and well laid out. He went on to say, says this might be one of his best presentations that he's seen with this governor and the previous one. And that says a lot about the information that we were able to go in there and present in the game plan on this. Because I am convinced we need this interchange. It is one of the most important things that we can do for us. Traffic relief, long-term investments in this city, and the next phase on this. And fortunately, we're able to find some agreement on this because with Central Pike to us, the city has offered them a $25 million kickstart on this interchange here. And the reason you say that sounds like a lot of money, but some of those things that are pushed around is if something doesn't happen, it's maybe 10 years out on this commitment to getting this thing done. And I, as the mayor, have to ask myself, what's the opportunity cost to us as a city? What does it cost us every year that this doesn't get done? We leave money on the table. Every year that it's not done, there's vacant land there that could be back contributing into our school systems. Millions lost in opportunity. Mitigating traffic, taking 60% of the traffic out of the Providence area. That's pass-through traffic out of the Providence area. How many more are willing to go to Providence in that area through there and shop if you can move through it a little easier, get in and out? Pad-ready sites available. School systems, dollar for dollar, sales tax matched. When we raise a dollar through sales tax, a same dollar of that goes back into the school systems. For us partnering with the schools, this is what this means. Growing our economic base here and is investing in our businesses that we have. Of course, it's a regional impact as well. And that's one of the things that we wanted to drive home with the governor. It's not about a mayor or a group of us getting a new interchange so much as it is a regional impact on this. And with that, I'm going to conclude my remarks here today. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this. I want to thank every one of you out there that owns a business, that invests in this community. I've got to again mention staff and all the employees that make this city look like it runs so effortlessly sometimes. Thank the citizens. There's one other group I want to mention. That's our board members that serve on the voluntary boards, our planning commission, our parks board, BPAC board. And of course, coming up now with a bigger investment in time is going to be our traffic commission on those boards are going to. And if you're a citizen, you call this place home, I want to thank you for calling Mount Juliet home, making it what it is. Also, I'll leave you with this. Shop Mount Juliet. Got to thank Mark and Tracy as well. But my final remarks here are going to be with this. I'll leave you with this. We can't build a city of life, at the same time keep others out, lock others out here. I'll leave you with this quote. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And he said the second thing to do was love your neighbor as yourself. So with that, to say Mount Juliet's never been about what's coming next. It's about what's here now. Because you're what makes this city the great thing it is. It's an honor for me to serve, and it's also a bigger honor to call this city home. Thank you, everyone, and God bless Mount Juliet. Thank you.